Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Improv Network podcast. This is a series of conversations aimed at building stronger connections throughout the improv community. I'm James Quesada.
And I'm Bob Wick.
Excuse me. And you are listening to me talk. Yeah, delicious noise. We are your education team for the Improv Network. And you can go to theimprovnetwork.org to check out all sorts of improv resources, including blogs and interviews. There's festival listings and an improv FAQ dedicated page for these conversations, as well as some lecture videos on the most commonly asked about questions in the improv world. Our topic for today, Bob. Go ahead. You got something to say?
Oh, yeah. Just want a reminder.
Got something to add, bro? What do you want?
Man. Be sure, bro. To do all the liking and the subscribing and the commenting and all the ing you can. That really helps out. We want to hear from you. These are conversations, not just between me and James. It takes a village to make an improv. That's what they say.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we stopped saying this during the live streams, but you are more than welcome to chime in with questions of any kind during our live stream, regardless if it's related to the specific topic we're talking about. If you just want to throw questions in about improv, whatever it might be, go ahead and comment, and we'll either get to it in the episode or we'll flag it as one to cover in a future episode. Yeah,
so many of these episodes are based on questions we were asked, and we're just like, oh, this is too big of a topic just to comment on. We gotta go hard. We gotta give them the whole hour. So let's do it.
And we're going hard today on a pretty commonly asked question. A lot of people ask about bulldozing. And bulldozing is what you call an improv, somebody who's just plowing through a scene, or, just way too active, abrasive energy, overwhelming,
Right. Basically, they're in business, what wrestlers are called. They're going into business for themselves. They're not listening. They're not being a good scene partner. They're negating or denying anything that's given to them because they have a story they want to tell, and they don't want, or they think they don't need their scene partners to help them do this. I've seen bulldozers so bad they don't realize they're bulldozing, but even negate because for example, no, we're at a farmhouse. We've never talked about the farmhouse. No, the door's over there. No one has done any object work to tell where any of the landscape is. How can you tell me the door's not here? It's a really frustrating way to play if you're the other performers with the bulldozer.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, there's no real easy answer because it's just tough to deal with. But we will hopefully cover some things that will help just make it less frustrating, or that you can kind of fall back on and try out if you're in that situation, or if you are that person that is unconsciously bulldozing and walking off stage being like, God, why did I just do that?
Yeah.
Speaking of which, so Bob, let's talk about some of the reasons that this happens. Like, why do people bulldoze? Where does this kind of energy come from?
Yeah. I'm gonna be honest. I just did it a little bit there. I've usually, for me personally, my personal experience, if I've ever bulldozed, is because I was so inspired by something. I just wanted to play this game. I wanted to do it takes over you. It sucks, and you have, and it's usually someone who's comfortable on stage, or maybe newly comfortable on stage, but hasn't had enough stage time to realize what they're doing, to catch himself in that moment. Because it's one of the things about being an improviser is we're not trying to be funny. We're trying to tell a story, or we're trying to do something. We're trying to build something together. And unfortunately, some people, it takes a little longer to learn that together skill. You know, you're thinking about what my part is in this puzzle. And sometimes that overrides the rest of the puzzle.
So you're saying you're pointing to like when people get eager or just overexcited about their ideas and like, yeah.
And it's not malicious. It's not like they're not doing it with the intent of hurting a scene. They really, I truly believe, and again from experience, that they are. Oh my God! Wait till they see what I'm going to present to the stage right now. Everybody's going to want to jump on it. It's going to be exciting. This is I got to get this off my chest. It's going to be incredible. And sometimes, because of the overexcitement in the presentation, it's just too much for everybody around them. Or because they're so excited, they're not fully communicating what kind of premise or what they're trying to get out. So it's just a big ball of energy, and no one knows what to do with it. It's too much. The amp is just too high for the rest of the crowd.
Yes, yeah. I you know what? I didn't really think about that. And I'm still like, I always want to make sure that when we talk about these problem areas or like bad habits that people have and how to deal with them, that like, we remember that like most of us are guilty of this. Like any given topic, if we're going to talk about it, most of us have been guilty of it. Of not every bad habit, but like there's a good chance that somebody in the conversation has done it, does do it from time to time, or whatever. So it's good to remember that it's not always just like malicious, shitty people doing this stuff. It's like, I totally didn't think of course, people are just like over excited and eager to play or eager to get their ideas out there because they're just excited to, you think you got a good one. And I've definitely been guilty of that, like just like jumping the gun or trying to lead the charge because I'm like, oh, this is going to be exciting, and I'm going to be so bummed if it doesn't go this way. And that's not fair.
How dare you guys on stage not know the script I have in my head? I think it's like akin to people who do tag-ins too much, and they go like, oh, I got this joke, it's going to hit, and then when they don't get tagged back out, it's like, all I had was this joke. Oh man. Okay. This is not what I intended.
Another reason that I'll throw in there that came to mind for me first, again, just because I think I'm trying to balance the positive and there's negative reasons why people do this stuff. But like, I was thinking of like a lack of trust, and I've been guilty of that as well. And I especially like, high stakes shows or like what I see when I see this a lot is like class shows or like new troops doing their first show or first couple shows or, having being in like something like a tournament when you're like bringing friends and family and like just eager to like win so you can move on to the next round and that kind of stuff. Just being like nervous and you lose that calm trust that we try to instill in ourselves throughout classes and rehearsals and practices is just like trust the process, listen and stay in the moment, and something good will come of it. And instead you get kind of panicky about like wanting to get the laugh or wanting to make sure that you're doing a good job in front of the people that came to see the show or whatever, like carry the team when you don't really have to,
Mr. Fix-It or Mrs. Fix-It or Fix-It. And that can be a lot too. That's honestly, I'm gonna say, I don't want to put a percentage on it, but in my experience, I've seen this happen to a lot of troops. You get a couple people who have that kind of energy, and they don't want to play with each other. Not everybody. There's too many cooks in the kitchen or chefs in the kitchen, or it's just without trust, it's so hard to do the thing we do. So I totally agree with what you're saying. Also, really quick, let's take a sidestep. To you, is there a difference? I have an answer, but I want to ask you. To you, is there a difference between someone who's a bulldozer and someone who just happens to be hot that night? Someone who's just having a good show, untouchable, can do all their accents or whatever they need to do. Just making no. I hate using this term, but bad choices, if that's a thing.
Yeah. Somebody who's like on fire, just having like a real perfect night, perfect game.
Yeah, getting perfect scores from even the Russian judges.
I think the difference is like I would put that on like a sort of a spectrum or a scale of like, well, how well is it working with everyone else? You know, like if everyone else is like on your team is loving it too, or looking good too. If it's uplifting other people's ideas and using stuff like that, like, I think that it's a matter of like, well, how well is it meshing? And if it's not meshing, then you're bulldozing. Well, it's not connected, right?
Put it on the troop itself, because sorry, I stepped on you again. I'm excited about this one. I'm a bulldozer. I would have to. I agree with you 98%, but there's also that 2% is if someone's on fire, why not feed that fire? You know, that's my only caveat to what you're saying.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I think that has to do with whether it's connected with everyone else. Because if the bulldozer is not connected, then you can't. It's harder to feed it, like, because they're not listening to the things you're giving them or paying attention enough to let you help. You know, like that. So, I think it's just like that spectrum of whether or not it's connected and meshing with the rest of the team. But actually, while we're kind of like jabbing ourselves for bulldozing in the conversation about bulldozing, I'll also say that like part of where this comes from that I've noticed is like it's also like a cultural thing, of like whether it's like male culture or I think that like I don't know if it's just the Detroit improv community or like Detroit social culture. I feel like the people that I'm friends with in Michigan in conversation, I'm more likely to talk until someone interrupts me, and B, interrupt somebody before they're finished talking. And it's more like a relay of a conversation than it is of a stop and start, clean, neat conversation.
Oh, I'm, as we just saw, I'm guilty of that. I always thought about it because I come from a big family, and that is how you have to talk when you're in a big family. If you want to get a sentence in, you have to basically, what is that thing on Spotify where you start the next song before the last song was finished? Like you kind of have I don't know. There's like it's like a phasing thing.
Oh, crossfading.
Yeah, crossfading thing. Like you have to crossfade your next thought into their last thought. Like it's almost like like the ultimate piggyback. Like I am crossfading into this because I don't want. Again, coming from a big family, like I don't want the conversation to change before I can add my 2 cents in, because especially the way my family talks, we're all over the place. So you don't want to be that person like, oh, I really had a cool thing or a thought about this last subject, but that was 3 subjects ago. You don't want to bring it up now because then it'd be weird.
Well, that's so interesting. Well, so side note, I think it's really cool that I didn't know Spotify had a crossfade option, because I just have the free account and I'm on Apple Music more. But that's like shuffle or repeat, but crossfade is an option.
Yeah,
that's a great option. But so but what you're saying is okay. So we have like this culture of interrupting each other, and it's not a negative thing necessarily if everybody is behaving that way. It's just the norm, right? And what you're saying is that like so threads of the conversation start to blend in with each other, and you didn't finish what you started saying, but so to me, what I'm realizing is that like, oh yeah, that kind of conditions you to like get better at letting go of where you were going with something, right? Mm-hmm. So like it seems like it would be, well, no one's finishing their topic, and it's negative because you're always interrupting each other and whatever. But actually, part of the thing that carries over to improv in like an interesting side effect is like you let go of your need to finish what you started.
Also, as a group mind, you're staying on a topic rather than going all over the place. So you have one clean thread.
Yeah. So it's just a different way of mind melding.
Yeah. But what I thought you were going to start dipping into is other reasons I've seen people bulldoze, and it might be connected to lack of trust, but also it's either they are I don't know misogynist. I think would be like a misogyny or like without even putting gender into it, people who need high status and ego based, an ego based way of play. Hey everybody, I got this. Just follow my lead, and this scene's gonna be awesome. Type play, which some people enjoy playing with those kind of people. I've never been that guy who has enjoyed that.
Wait, it's like some people are like, thank God, take the lead.
Yeah.
Like,
They like to add on. They're like, you know what? You start the main course, and I will. I'll bring the salad. It's gonna be a kick-ass salad. It might be better than what you cooked. You might suck at making ribs. I got the salad. People are gonna talk about the salad. I'm not gonna talk about the ribs.
That is very true. Yeah. People are like, I'm not going to be there in the first scene. I don't want to start a scene. I hate going first. Somebody please go first. I will support when you're out there.
And on the flip side, I've seen people get conditioned to always starting a scene because they are in a group where they're the only ones willing to do it. And and I want to call that bulldozing. It's kind of like they got pimped into being the lead all the time, which also becomes frustrating for people who naturally wasn't interested in doing that 100%.
Yeah.
Like that's a lot to put on one person's shoulders.
Yeah. There's people who are like I go first all the time, but like really what their preference is, like I can and I will, and it turns out I'm pretty good at it, but like I don't want to all the time because it becomes a burden. And I don't get, you want to be able to share roles. So
part of the fun of doing what we're doing is we get to try different things. And if you're playing the same role all the time, it doesn't add the variety, the spice, if you will, to your art. And hello, Sue. Thank you. Sue says, great topic.
Thanks, Sue. Thanks for tuning in. And yeah, if you have any comments or questions to chime in with, Sue, by all means. Okay. So yeah, let's go to like how to deal with bulldozers. Like, first of all, are there times that you've had to correct this habit? Like I know that I, like I said, I've been guilty of this stuff, and you get better at it. But like, any tips on like if you feel like you get into this mode of whether it's like nervousness or overzealous, how do you kind of like curb that for yourself?
Yes. The first thing you do is drop whatever status you have and make it the lowest possible. So then you're no longer in charge or in the lead. And then also give yourself a random number. I usually pick 1 through 5, and that's how many words I can say in a sentence. So you're meek, you're low status. Just make sure, and it allows it gives the other person room to breathe. The only caveat to that is if that person's not feeling that scene, they may need a little more help than the rules that you're applying to yourself. So, be ready to adjust if necessary. But yeah, if your energy needs to be contained, you have to take steps to contain it. Give yourself rules, and they can be arbitrary. And as with every rule in improv, they're only important if you make them important to yourself.
Yeah. I agree with that. I think the way the sorts of rules that I would give myself is like, don't be in, if I feel like fired up or like I was just in 3 scenes, I'll be like, can't be in 2 scenes in a row anymore.
That's a good one. That's a really good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
we're like,
because that's like directing, like,
what did you say?
Or edit them unless they
absolutely
need it. Like, try not to be the one that edits all the time. Like, try not to direct on stage. So whatever a director does, cut that shit out.
Yeah. Yeah. And so the tough thing here is that like, it's tough to catch these things while you're doing it during a show. Yeah. What about like in between? Like, how do you just like think differently or like kind of like have a different overall approach, as a player, if you're trying to get better at this, like from scene to scene, from class to class, like, or not, sorry, not from scene to scene, from show to show. You know what I mean? Like the space in between. How can you kind of like give yourself goals or a different way of approaching things?
To be honest, what's been helpful for me is learning how do the other performers in my troupe or in my show like to perform, and then ask myself that question like at the start of the scene. Like, what does James like to do? Oh, like I guess we want to do a little more physical. We're gonna do a little more physical. All right, what's the most physical thing I can do right now? And making an offer. And if you were to mirror that and heighten it, okay, then we got something. Like, you almost want to treat it like you're on a second date with somebody who may be out of your league. Well, they came back for a second one. Like, how do I make this interesting? How do I?
Be chill.
Be cool. Don't talk about yourself. Don't talk about yourself all the time. Don't make it about you.
Be cool, but don't be boring. Don't be boring, but be cool. Be cool. Don't be boring.
Like, let's be fun. Let's be playful. Let's be sincere.
Yeah. So we're kind of jumping around a little bit because I think there's other tips that we can give on like dealing with bulldozers, but like the problem that I have a lot of time is like balancing be cool, but don't be boring. Like you want to like hold back so that you're not bulldozing, but you also want to have enough energy to like add to the fire of the show. So like I feel like especially lately, maybe we've talked about this on here before, but like at some point I was like working on like being straight character, being like more like calm, strong energy. Yeah. And it was like, I feel like I kind of lost some of the like wildness that I had to make like really, bold, abstract, like fourth dimensional choices or whatever. Like, but then I try, I'm like, what can I do to have that same kind of like, anything could happen at any moment. I could turn on a dime and jump on something, but also, be like, calm and not too squirmy or frenetic.
No, I'm with you because I think me, you, and we talked about this when we talked to Nicole Pasquaretta, like that whole note of pull back, which I don't always agree with that note. And I think if you're doing that style correctly, the audience will let you know because you said something that sparked wow. And if you're doing that correctly, because I don't want people thinking you have to hold back to not be a bulldozer. To me, a bulldozer is somebody who doesn't want to play at all. If you're being too playful, maybe that's a version of it, but I don't think it's as I don't know. It's as I don't know why I call it intimidating. I don't know what, but it's not to me. It's apple and oranges. They're still edible, but not the same thing. I don't know where I was going with that. I just had to stick that landing.
But I think that's like such a great, useful distinction. Is that actually a bulldozer isn't playing too hard? They're not playing
at all
enough. They're not playing at all. They're not really wanting to play. They're not playing well with others. That is really it's the difference. Playing is playing with.
I like this question. So Sue asks, I worry that the audience gets uncomfortable when a bulldozer is on stage. What's your opinion on great strategy to curtail someone's bulldozing without the audience noticing? Think the audience will only know that they should be uncomfortable with the bulldozer if the rest of us let them know. I mean, I'm sure there might be, depending on, I guess it's, depending on the circumstances. But one of the things I love to do, it was what I call the Edith bunker. So if you ever watch All in the Family, Archie's is big. But if you watch the show, Edith always has the funniest lines without being confrontational. And that's the whole point. Like, oh yeah, just let them go. Just yes and what are you? Yeah, we're following your lead. We're following lead, and it's been my experience. They'll always run faster than they can, and there will be a trip up part, and that's when you can have your moment, or you can just be entertaining from the plate of a spot of low status. For example, Bulldozer comes in, accuses you of breaking their lamp. You have the most absurd, over-the-top reaction, full of emotion over breaking their lamp, and you absolutely did it. You're yes-anding them. I am so sorry. I shouldn't have lamps. I shouldn't be allowed to see the light. You know what you should do? You should lock me in a cave with no lamps, no electricity. I'm a dum-dum. And just play from you give them exactly what they want, and you just go full speed ahead. And every time they say something, you just use it to add to that monologue, and you just keep on going. It's to me, it's the greatest thing, because you asked for it, I gave it to you in large amounts. Let's keep on going.
Yeah. What did you say? Lock me in a cage with no lights and electricity.
Yeah.
Yes. Great. Yeah. So just being like hyper yes-anding about everything.
Hyper. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh yeah, and make sure you just add the emotion to it, because that's.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as you're saying this, I'm like kind of thinking of. I'll offer up this the analogy of, you're talking about like lion taming, and I think there's another way too of being like more of like a lion whisperer, where I just feel like there's, assuming that there are some malicious bulldozers who are just jerks and whatever, and that sucks. And maybe we should definitely talk about that before we're done. But
Absolutely.
Let's assume for the most part that like people are doing it unconsciously. It's more like the nerves out of control, over eagerness. And I think that like just keeping one foot in the world of the imaginary, the improv, the theater of it, but then also like really trying to like connect with the person and be like, hey, yeah, wow, man, what are we okay? Like,
are we okay? Are you saying like when you're on stage? Are you saying this?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm saying like I'm just trying to imagine like somebody's just like flying off the handle and being like blah, 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 and you're like, wow, this is a lot, huh? But really trying to like connect with them. And like I said, one foot in the theater of it. So I'm not using any specific examples of like what the scenic context is, but like, I think just trying to like make the eye contact with people and connect with them, to be like, hey, oh, man, you know what I mean? Just to try to have a moment with them, so that you can kind of like at least get some more of that connection going, if that's what's missing, So I don't know. I know that that's a little bit more like broad than the stuff you were saying, but yeah, I'm just thinking about it as like, you can either try to do lion tamer or lion whisperer. Like, wow, that lion just kind of like calmed down and seemed to really love being around, the lion whisperer there, as opposed to being like, I think, that's the lion taming is also like, it's more of like a sparring match. But so, yeah, I think they can both kind of work.
Absolutely. There are things I've seen people do to bulldozers that I don't necessarily agree with. Because I'm thinking about what Sue was just asking about the audience, doing something like letting them go on stage and not anybody joining them, or looking at each other, or kind of rolling your eyes on the back line kind of stuff. Like,
yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
So take that to the green room. Don't even if they didn't buy a ticket, someone came to your show to have a good time. If you are throwing a party and your kid starts being an asshole, you don't make the party about your kid being an asshole. You take the kid to the basement You lock them in a room with no lights, no electricity. Hell, let them figure it out. And I don't have kids. I don't know how it really works. But, you know, you kind of just, you don't bring the negative. What I'm trying to say is you don't bring the negativity to the party, right? You want, you know, just because someone's not playing right or being a jerk, depending, you know, whatever's going through, whatever day they're having, adding to that mess, you know, adding negativity, putting it out there into the cosmos or whatever doesn't help the show. And
totally,
to me, show comes first. You can take care of all the personal stuff after the show. That's why you have a coach. That's why you have a director. That's why you have a theater owner. That's why you have other ways of taking. Yes. That's why there's all these things, all these resources, if you will. Or you can start a new troupe. Starting a new troupe is free. It doesn't cost you a thing.
Well, it depends.
Well, for the most part, you don't have to like start an LLC yet.
I guess. Right.
For the most part.
Yeah. There's no cost to just being like, we're a team and this is our name.
Right. I can even say like you don't even have to break up your existing team to start a new team. You can just kind of start a new team and not play with the other team as much, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Phase out.
Yeah. Because that's the other thing when people do like the announcements like, hey, you know, Philip Hugh Lights and the Amazing Twins, we're no longer a troupe today. Okay, man. You did one show.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You know, Bulldozers might actually be a great improv troupe name. So real quick, just to add on to what you were saying about and answering the specific part of Sue's question on the audience and being uncomfortable is that the audience probably notices this bulldozer bulldozing, and maybe they don't. But either way, you don't want to add more attention to the fact that it's a problem or reveal that it's a problem. So whatever you do, just know that they're probably the audience already notices, and even if they notice you kind of dealing with it, like Bob said, it just you don't want to add to the problem of it. So as long as you're doing what you're doing on stage in earnest, like trying to connect with the person, trying to like play honestly and with from your side, then I think that it's fine that the audience might be a little uncomfortable or notice it. It's you can't avoid the noticing. Yeah, but you can avoid making it worse.
And when they do, they it's been my experience. Like they'll come up to you after the show, like, "You great show, loved you. What was up with that guy? You know, like I thought you did a really good job, but whew, like I don't know, man.
Yeah, that looked tough, huh?
That's that's that guy.
Yeah, but you don't want to make it every like you said. It's not, the party's not about your kid being an asshole. You don't want to make it like an us versus them like punishment center of focus.
Okay. You know, we just make weird character choices. You know.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Yeah, and then Arnold also commented with some thoughts here, suggesting breathe a bit and give others space to set up.
Yeah.
And then also sometimes it's stepping in front of the bulldozer to let the person on the bike cross in front, which that's awesome. An awesome analogy too, is that like, that's a great analogy. Arnold is like, it's also about like, not everyone's good at dealing with bulldozers. Not everyone's style is like, so lots of people have like, either subtle energies, more like nuanced, or sometimes what you're looking to do is giving room for the rest of the team to play, so you might like, maybe what Arnold is talking about is like you kind of like buddy up with the bulldozer to kind of be their foil, so that you can build like in a scene or whatever, the relationship of like the one who pulls them aside and is like, all right, let's chill out here for a second, or like, let's see what they do, let's see what they do about this, So you kind of give the reins to the situation a little bit. So
I like that.
Yeah.
Let's see what they do. Let's be the audience room. Can we? Let's have a seat in those 2 empty chairs on row 3.
Yeah. All right, that's enough screaming for the day, I think.
Right.
What do you have to say about that, everyone else? Yeah. Yeah. And then, I think going back to this, Arnold's other comment about like breathe a bit and give others space to set up. I think that's ultimately like probably the best boiled down mantra for it is like you just got to breathe, and that's why I think it is. I sympathize with people, especially early on, who are in classes who are doing their first shows that are having this problem or dealing with somebody on a team that is because like some of it is just like just getting the reps of the stage and being like under pressure. You get used to it, and it draws less negative side effects the more that you do it. So breathing and giving others a chance to set up is the thing to do, and sometimes it's hard to realize that in the moment.
Oh, I absolutely agree. I think that this is another cause of it. We talked about this so many times. I think people start improvising and they think the job is you have to continuously talk throughout the whole scene or you're not doing your job.
Yeah.
And every line of dialogue has to be this witty, funny thing, or you're not doing it right. Rather than, take your time. Let's build up some tension. Let's breathe. Let's do that object work thing we're forgetting to do because we're 2 talking heads. Let's do something, let's make it visually interesting and let's take the audience for a journey rather than like bombarding them with dialogue.
Yeah. So I want to throw a couple other ideas on like dealing with bulldozer situations because let's talk about the malicious side of it, right? So it's just like you can't connect with them; it's not happening. Like 2 things I want to throw out there. One, which is very risky. So just as a disclaimer at the top of this is like you could try to just like do what they're doing.
That was gonna be mirror.
Yeah. Because you were kind of talking about this, Bob, with hyper yes anding, but that's still like kind of complimentary.
Yeah.
I'm talking like if it's just because they're loud and banging pans and shit, then like do that too. And it's like like I said, it's kind of risky because you don't know if that is going to make things worse or like make the person feel like you are like attacking them or whatever. But like it might just be like crazy fun absurdity to add to double down on it and just be like, I'm doing it too,
And then that's the first line of dialogue you do. I'm doing this too.
Yeah. I can be loud too. Yeah.
Right. And if you do it if the whole group does it, then it's just like a whole cool group scene.
30-minute group game of who can be the loudest. Yeah.
And you're all chanting, I'm doing this too.
Yeah. And then the other thing that is probably more practical, more helpful, and more likely to give like an extra helpful dimension to the scene is what you just said about object work. Go to the environment, do something silent, physical. That will both add at the same time in a different way than the energy that the bulldozer is giving, because that's like most of the time when we talk about bulldozing, we are talking about like they're verbally dominating too much. They're like literally loud, volume competitive. So that space is filled. What else is there? Well, there's the physical, there's the environment, there's the nonverbal context to what's going on, like the emotional tone. How are you dealing with it? You're like, yes, this person's rant, I am vibing with it, and or are you like, some of my favorite scenes have just been that is like being the person who you know, my scene partner, and I'm not talking maliciously here. This happens a lot in a positive way where somebody will go on a rant and then we'll realize that that's kind of like the game. And I'll play the silent role of like, just like kind of like slowly jaw dropping. That's a really fun role to play too. And it actually gives a cool kind of backdrop or context to, the rant.
I'm glad you say contrast, because that was going to be my other thing, is play the exact opposite energy and make as much contrast as possible. Because again, well, that's not defeating. That's also complimentary. Even though you're being, I like to play. What am I saying to do?
Yeah, curl up in a ball in a fetal position in the center of the stage and don't move.
Yeah.
But what are you? Paint me a picture of what you mean. Like, what would be like the opposite energy? Is like really meek or like what?
Yeah, or just if they're being mean, super nice. Be Ted Lasso. Do take whatever the core of their character is, their point of view, and contradictory, be contradictory, like, but not in a way where you're butting heads. It's just like, oh, this is just how I see the world. You do you do me. If they are the kind of people who also use their stature, make yourself smaller, especially if they're smaller than you. That's awesome. Yeah. All those little things. Try to do reverse physicality. So if they're sticking your chest out, put yours in, like over. Yeah. So you basically, it's in a way, it's kind of mocking too. But you try not to do it in a mocking manner. But
yeah, it's very clown to me. Like what you're talking about, like where like you have, or like it's Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, right? And that's like a clown dynamic too. What they call the white and the red, right? You have the white high status and the red run amok. And it seems like mocking, but it's actually very cooperative, because like the more status that the white clown wants, the more disaster that the red clown can bring to it, right? Is like the more you want, the more you have to ruin. I don't know. Any other thoughts on just like the malicious situation? Because I know that is maybe what I'll say is that like it's I think, I guess again, I don't want to paint this in like too negative of terms, but like you get to kind of watch this like train wreck, right? So like you're on stage and you can kind of just enjoy like being like, wow.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I think we haven't talked about people who are the malicious we talked about were malicious, but not super malicious. I also like, and I kind of scratch about like, I think there's a couple. I don't think. Oh God, I'm trying to phrase this. So okay. Let me tell you a story. When I was taking classes, there was another class who had a couple of gentlemen who just went through divorces at the same time, and they really clicked. And I think all their comedy came from their pain, and I almost felt, and I'm pretty sure I'm right. It's been 15 years, so I don't want to point the finger, but I felt even that young that they were abusive to female performers, because they would always put them in positions of being, the crappy girlfriend, or the dumb blonde who doesn't, who just wants me for my money, like all this stuff, stereotypes that aren't true, and have no place in 2021 being on stage or anywhere else. So with that kind of militia, you gotta treat them like a bully, like that kind of bulldozer. That one, that then we stop playing. Like that's if you can get through the show, that's when you talk to management, you talk to whoever will listen. You make sure you protect whoever they're going after. You become an advocate. You become whatever you have to be. That's the only time I think the show takes second place to anything, because we when we go up there, we tell each other we have each other's backs. So if someone's coming at someone wrong on stage and using and hiding in the shadow of improv to be a bully or a jerk or a misogynist or a racist or whatever, that's when everything goes out the window, and you gotta check them, whatever that means in that moment.
Yeah. And Arnold added another comment along those lines of approaching someone. Sorry, actually, I misread this, but he's talking about on stage approaching someone as you would if someone was behaving as they are in real life. But you can also approach people in real life to have a conversation about what Arnold is saying here, that like yes and doesn't mean allowing anyone to do anything, especially if what they're doing is destructive or unfairly dominating. And we're all
I completely agree, Arnold. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah. But so I guess the point is that like you can have a conversation. We're all adults, right? There you should feel, hopefully, in a perfect world, you can go to the leadership of your theater or your community, whatever it may be, to really draw a line if what's happening is not going to change and is threatening or dangerous. But at the same time, like we're all adults, and we can have like conversations with each other to approach these somebody like the people that you're talking about. It's just like, hey, like I just kind of noticed this, and I just wanted to talk to you about it because like I was curious what's going on, and like if you felt the same way, or if there's anything that we can kind of like do about it that might be a little bit more healthy, or to work with everyone, just so we're not making each other uncomfortable. You know what I mean? Like just like really try to have like empathy and patience enough with each other to have a hard conversation.
You have to decide. I'm sorry. You have to decide if this person is doing it out of ignorance or out of hate or out of what is there, and then act accordingly. Because in theory, we should all know the people we're playing with, but sometimes that doesn't happen. But if someone makes a mistake or is making a mistake without them knowing it, sometimes having that, sitting down and educating them could really open their eyes to something, and you could really be helping them. Or if they're just a prick, maybe the conversation should have someone there who's in the seat of power to, kind of hash this thing out, so it's it doesn't progress, or we can check this behavior.
Yeah. Because if you're comfortable having, it takes courage to approach somebody like that, courage and patience and empathy, and those are not always the easiest things in a confrontational conversation. But if you feel like you can have that conversation, then I feel like it's good for it might be the best thing for someone or both sides of the situation. But not everybody is comfortable having this conversation, and it really isn't it's not your responsibility as like a player at a theater, or especially a student, to have that conversation. So if it feels like it's a conversation you can have, fine, but it's not on you to make sure that you do.
That is not your responsibility if you don't feel safe. But if this is someone you've known for a while and you consider a friend, if you feel comfortable, yes, please.
And I guess going back to what you said too is that like, is this person doing it out of, is this person a sociopath, right? It's like maybe not. I just feel like, yeah.
Are you a sociopath? Because if not, I'd like to talk to you about your behavior.
Yeah, Frank, can we start here? Sociopath or not? Nah, great. Okay, let's keep going. Yeah. Okay, but I just think that like approaching, if you're going to have a conversation, and honestly, this is probably advice for like teachers and leadership too, is that like when you approach somebody, if you're going to have this conversation, whichever role you're in, do it from a place of assuming that there's a good person here who is expressing some bad habits, for whatever reason, and you don't need to go into it as an opponent, right? Or you know, as the one who's right. Go into it as a conversation and start by trying to connect as a human being, right? And be like, I assume that there is some reason why this is happening, and I want to know if we can make it better and hear each other, you know?
Yeah. Bulldozing, huh?
Yeah, I feel like it's always what it comes down to, right? It's such a slippery slope. Is that like there's these little
nuances,
sort of, yeah. And then really at the end of the day, it's like, man, like where do you draw the line? And to quote Jess K is somewhere. You draw the line somewhere.
Somewhere there is a line. You know yours. Respect it and give your, but yeah, that's why it's so hard to give advice when it comes to this thing. Because again, like everything's situational, because I can also see, so going back to the story I was telling, you take the premises those guys were creating and put it into a hand of a group of people who actually love each other, and you can make some really interesting comedic scenes out of it. Like if you and Julia if you were playing a shitty boyfriend, I think Julia can spin that to the gold, because us as the audience know that when you guys go home that night, you're not that guy. Like it's not coming from a place of hurt or whatever. You're not compensating. You're just playing, and there's a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, on a similar note, these comments are coming in like perfectly timed. Kurt says, any tips on delineating my character is misogynistic versus I am misogynistic? And that's a great question.
Character would be my first.
Yeah. Well, one, if you're asking that question, you're in a better spot, right? Like you're automatically like examining where are the things that you're doing on stage coming from, and so you're probably at least leaning on the side of it's your character, not you, right? Another thing that I'll throw in there too is that like, I've definitely had sets where I like did something as a character and I think that I was going for humor that like was actually coming from the wrong spot. So it's like my it's not that my character was being misogynistic. It's just that the like game or the humor that I was playing into, maybe I expected a laugh on something, and then it made me reflect afterward of like, why did I think that was like funny? Like, And so that's like, I think asking questions of yourself like that as a player is like, where are you expecting the humor to come from? And we talked about this in a great episode with Molly Alampi.
I was thinking about that. Yeah. Because what's the joke?
Yeah,
what's the joke? But I think, and I'm glad we actually got to this, because I don't want people to think that we have to take all these kind of characters off the table, because these are actual characters. These are people you would see, hopefully not often, but plausibly see in your day-to-day life. So if, to me, that's fair play. And if your scene partner is comfortable with you doing that kind of character, that's step one. Also, I think if you play that kind of character, that character has to lose. Whatever that means in that scene, that character has to lose or be taught a lesson or get put in this place. It can't just be a 5-minute scene where a misogynistic character makes fun of a female. It's got to be, this is, you want to come off as, this is what I think of these people, and this is what I think should happen to them if they act this way. It's almost like Michael Scott in The Office. Steve Carell. Okay, we'll take misogyny out of the play, but the whole "that's what she said" joke in The Office isn't a joke. Michael Scott is a dumb character. That's what Steve Carell thinks of people who says "that's what she says."
Yeah.
So I mean, and this is the kind of person he thinks they are. Not a bad person, but not exactly ideal.
Yes.
Yeah. So
yeah, and that's the thing too, is that like somebody who's people don't think of themselves as wrong, like so like if you're a misogynistic character, it's like you don't want to amplify it too much for the reason that Bob said, is that like it's not like we want to just run amok and let that character win, but you should really couple it with like just like playing it, again, like earnestly, as like, well, I think that men should be the breadwinner, like like that's something that it's people believe that, right? Like I don't think that women should work, like there are roles for men and women, and it's meant to be that way. And like you have to understand that character like actually thinks that, but like so you have to balance playing it that way, but also like leaving room to like you're examining it, not defending it, right? I would protect the character by giving it some kind of, it has a point of view, but why does it have that point of view? I think women should stay at home because when I was a kid, my mom was always home, and it made me feel safe when I got home from school. Like something like, if you can make the audience go awe with this character, then I think you're playing the character right, or at least one moment. Again, it's a tricky character. I don't think you cannot not play it. If you have something to say with this character, then go for it. But play to high intelligence. Make sure everybody involved is cool with this kind of, because you don't want to trigger somebody, or because women have to actually put up with this character. They might not. They might not be fun. You know what? That's what I'm saying. Yeah, go ahead.
That might not be a fun toy to play with if it cuts.
Yes, thank you for putting it that way, because that's what I'm saying. We're like, you have to play it like earnestly, not like as like a two-dimensional play toy. Right. Yes, that is absolutely right. Like so it's like giving that character more the why of that character, and the vulnerability and the flaw, like you're talking about with the Michael Scott character, gives it like three-dimensional, a real earnest effort to like examine this and make it three-dimensional. And that will be much more interesting, and also both give you you'll feel better about having played that character, and not have to like dwell on like, shit, am I misogynist? A misogynist? And you're also more likely for the audience to feel that way too. That one, you're not just a misogynist that's running around doing that, and that you're not just like shitting on that character, because probably somebody in the audience is like, that's kind of like me, what the fuck. So giving a little bit of like added dimension to that character, more likely to make it relatable, and actually learn from putting it on stage in the first place in a humorous way.
Right. And the overall rule, if you're not sure your partner for some reason is comfortable, allow them to find your Achilles heel as soon as possible, and let yourself be seriously hurt by whatever that character. Give that character as much power as you think. Give them all the power, and let them. If they want to, hurt that character. If their character wants to hurt that character, let it happen, and let it be big and awesome, and let everybody almost cathartically laugh at it.
Yes, and again, as if on cue, Sue gives a perfect,
that was good, Sue.
Gives a perfect comment of showing the soft, vulnerable underbelly of these misdirected or unlikable characters tends to help when playing with them. Tends to help me Sue speaking for herself. But I think that is pretty universal. That it makes it easier to watch them. It makes it easier to play with the character. It makes it easier to play that character.
It works with any character that people are supposed to hate. Really, if you ever saw Jojo Rabbit, my favorite excuse, Jojo Rabbit is such a smart movie, and it shows how you can take someone, the worst person in history, and make them, funny. I don't know how to say it sensitively. I usually, because I don't want to speak about that too much.
Careful. We're close to the end of our time. You're gonna open up a whole other can of worms.
Let me stick the land.
Yeah.
I usually use Thanos as my example because he's a fictional character, most evil person in the Marvel universe. He wants to kill half society. Why? Because he truly believes the other half will prosper, and everybody is currently suffering. That's where his heart is. He thinks he's doing the right thing. He's insensitive, but he cares about things. He has to care about things, or he's a two-dimensional character.
Yeah, and Kurt actually asked a question about playing antagonists or villains, which we considered doing an episode on today. So I think that is maybe a good cliffhanger for a future episode, because we could also talk because I would want to have a conversation about is there a point when you're like, do we want to make evil people more relatable? There is real evil.
I mean, I think I gotta answer that. You know what? Yeah. Cliffhanger. Hey, Kurt. This may not be your favorite show right now, because cliffhanger, buddy.
Yeah, but it is. It's a great topic, and again, it opens up all sorts of conversations about character relatability, how things affect the way that we process theater, and also the difference between drama and comedy.
Or as you just said, morally, should we do this?
Yeah. All right. Well, it turns out that this is Kurt's favorite show, as he commented. Thanks, everyone, for your questions. Kurt and Stu.
Thank you, Arnold. Thank you, Sue. Thank you, Kurt.
Yeah. Really, it's always so much more enjoyable and exciting when there's people chiming in, and it's not just me and Bob talking in circles about stuff that I'm sure we've covered. We're, at this point, I feel like some topics we're just piecemealing together, things that we've touched on in other episodes. So, most of the time we have a guest, but it also is great to have people commenting to keep fresh perspective, and
because it brings a conversation when we do it that way.
Yeah.
I just crossfaded that one. You like that?
Crossfade.
Crossfade.
Okay.
The name of the podcast is Crossfade.
Yeah. Welcome to the Improv Crossfade.
What?
All right, y'all. Thanks for tuning in. And remember to go to the improvnetwork.org to check out more of these conversations and videos, and blogs and interviews and other resources. And we will catch you next time on the Improv Network podcast. Bye.